We'll move on to Lindsey Evans. Lindsey Evan.
It's Evans. I don't know. They left my last letter off. Or I can't spell my own name. Either one could have happened to be quite
Well,
honest.
welcome.
Chairman Wiggum, Vice Chairman Stevens, Ranking Member Kelly, and members of the State and Local Government Committee, thank you for allowing me to be here to give proponent testimony for House Bill 618. And also thank you for staying what it seems like midnight. It's only 6 o'clock outside, but that was a whole nother bill earlier. But yeah, so it's only 6. But thank you very much for staying. I appreciate you listening to us this late in the evening. On June 2nd of 2020, I testified in favor of House Bill 624 in front of this very committee because I wanted this body to understand the truth versus the fear of the situation we found ourselves in back in June. Unfortunately, we're still in that situation, and our children are still suffering. My son still hasn't seen the face of his speech therapist, which is what I talked about that day, since June. The whole point of speech therapy is so that you learn how to speak better. Can't see his face. So that's still happening. However, today, I'm here to ask you to vote yes for House Bill 618 to rein in the powers of the executive branch that they currently exercise. And we've heard a lot about that, so I'll just skip to the point that's important to me. On April 30th of this year, I looked back and Amy Acton, the then director of Ohio Department of Health, said something that I thought was odd, and today it seems even more strange. She said, quote, "Eventually in our culture, perhaps wearing masks will be more like something like smoking that we've come to say is not okay. You can smoke, that's your choice, but I can't be a secondhand smoke receiver in a public place," she said. "That may eventually be a culture change we get to." What I looked at is it's a lot like other public health things that when you first start out, it's really about behavior change and culture change. She said, "When I've traveled globally, wearing masks is the norm. You will be seen as impolite to be coughing and hacking on people. But we have to get there together as a culture. This is a very big behavioral change for us." End quote. I did not vote for the executive branch to change my culture. I did not vote for Mike DeWine so that he can turn citizens against each other if they choose differently than his unilateral edicts. I have been verbally assaulted more in the past 3 weeks by people who also fight against bullying than I ever have in my entire life. The governor is now purposely creating a divide and giving people a free pass to scream at others in public. Why is this allowed to continue? I was brought up to think for myself and be responsible with my own health. As you can see by the quotes from the governor's appointee, this is not temporary. He has no intention of ending the state of emergency, as evidenced by his speech last week when he declared it to be extended, which is where we are now. We have one man who hasn't lost a dime of income telling others who are struggling with their finances that they aren't allowed to enter a grocery store without being personally accosted by a minimum wage worker. A man who thinks a virus is out lurking for victims. A man who has no doubt a vested financial interest in making sure that my children feel uncomfortable in public for smiling at people. One man who hasn't been listening to his constituents or the legislature or the judicial branch since March. He was upset when people showed up at Dr. Acton's house because she was writing orders that shut down businesses. We're there again. Now we have a 10 to 5 curfew. And asked today where the evidence was to support that, he couldn't answer. I don't know what he thinks is going to happen, but I'll give you an update. They were at his house last night. In 1773, Bostonians sat at a port for 30 straight days so that they couldn't unload the tea that they wanted to send back to London. They only threw the tea in the harbor because they wouldn't send the ships back. It was the last resort. We are absolutely refusing to learn anything from history. So I ask, where is the balance of powers? Where is the legislature? In what republic do we bend the knee to the will of one man? The definition of a republic is, quote, a political order whose head of state is not a monarch. For a duly elected governor to demand that we bend to his will or your business will be shut down isn't a republic, it's a monarchy. We fought the Revolutionary War during a smallpox epidemic that still currently has a mortality rate of 30% to get away from this exact situation. I am tired of the governor of Ohio encouraging citizens to accost each other at a Walmart. I did not sign a social contract to undertake the health of 11.5 million other people. If that was the case, the governor could mandate eating vegetables or walking on your lunch break or not selling soda. But no, he wants you to cover your face or be vilified by the Be Kind army. His mandates and behavior are unacceptable, and I encourage a yes vote on House Bill 618 for the sake of all Ohioans. Lieutenant Governor Husted today said, quote, "The vaccine is the light." And Governor DeWine thinks that he will keep doing these arbitrary mandates until you take that vaccine to get your life back, unless you stop this and start acting on the balance of powers. And in that vein, I also urge you to vote yes on Senate Bill 311. Thank you.
Thank you. Will you take questions from the committee? Representative Kelly.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for coming in. I remember when you came in to talk about some of our previous things. I just wanted to ask about one thing in particular. When you talk about entering a grocery store, you want to enter a grocery store without being personally accosted by a minimum wage worker. And I mean, I really take exception to that because, you've heard from a lot of people that they want Ohio to be open. They want Ohio to be fully open. They don't want any restrictions. But some of the people who have been working throughout all of this at various stages of danger and risk to themselves and their families are minimum wage workers in grocery stores and in pharmacies and in healthcare facilities and at places all over this state, without whom we couldn't have the food that we need, we couldn't have the prescriptions that we need, our loved ones might not have the care that they need. And so I think if we're going to talk about these orders in a way that, that we should look at them so that things can stay open and so that we can continue to function as a society, but we also need to be mindful and respectful of the folks who are going to work every single day so that we can continue to function as a society. So I guess my question is, how do you balance that? You have folks that are just trying to go out and make a living, that might have folks at home who are at great risk. And so, I know that in some of this proposed legislation, there are some changes. So, I guess there's a question in there somewhere, Mr. Chairman, but I would just like for us to really, be mindful of the fact that there are a lot of people who have been working and are still working to make sure that Ohio can stay open for business.
Can I?
Yes, please.
Through the chair to Representative Kelly, thank you for giving me the opportunity to clarify that I don't want to be personally accosted by anyone that makes any amount of money. I'm very thankful for our minimum wage, high wage, all workers. I especially am thankful for my friends that haven't had a job at all during any of this, and they got hacked and their bank accounts are gone because the state's unemployment system got hacked. I'm thankful for all of them. I don't want anybody to be personally accosted for anything at all, for any reason. I don't think that our workers in a grocery store should be told that that's their job to yell at people when they walk through the door. That's on the governor. That's not on, I'm not upset at anyone that works anywhere. That's not on us. That's on the governor's edict. So I thank you for giving me the opportunity to clarify that, but I do agree that I'm very thankful for them.
Thank you. Representative Ginter.
Thank you for your testimony. And so I am in agreement with you that I do not believe that employers or employees should be placed in the untenable position that they have to question individuals coming into a store and act as the mask police, so to speak. I think that is unfair to them. I also think that we have to be careful that we don't violate HIPAA rules when we ask individuals as to why they're not wearing a mask in light of the fact that it could be a health reason. And so if I may summarize what you just said, you don't have a problem with people wearing masks. That is their individual choice as a citizen. Where you have an issue is the mandating that everyone must wear a mask. Am I correct in that?
Through the chair to the representative. Yes, and I especially have more of a problem when you have to close your store if you don't have somebody at the door telling someone else what to do. We've put that on small businesses that, well, we're not going to have a shutdown. We're just going to have a whole bunch of rules that if you don't do them, you're going to shut down. I think everybody should wear a mask that wants to wear one. Very personal choice, and if you don't want to wear one, you shouldn't, and you probably have a reason to do so, and that's your personal business. Thank you.
Okay. See no other questions. Thank you for your testimony today.